By now, most of you will be aware of the forecasted track of Hurricane Gonzalo. Unfortunately, at this time, this is a very powerful storm that looks set to take a direct hit on the island sometime on Friday. All agencies have been hard at work clearing away the downed trees and other debris that was left after the passage of Tropical Storm Faye. And now we must turn our attention clearly to the preparation for what is likely to be a much more severe storm with greater impact on the island and our people. At this time, I would like to invite Kimberly Zuhl from the Bermuda Weather Service to provide an overview of the storm's likely path and to give us a guide on some of the conditions which we can expect leading up to the storm and as it passes Bermuda. Kimberly.
As of the noon advisory, Hurricane Gonzalo is a Category 4 hurricane. It is expected to maintain this category strength until it interacts with a front which is coming off of the East Coast. That is what gives it a hook, and it starts to move towards the northeast. It will also be bumping up against a high pressure area. This is why the wind strength is forecast to increase to tropical storm force on Thursday night. If you are only looking at solely tropical products and not the local forecast, you will not be aware of the increase of winds to tropical storm force during Thursday evenings. This is why in today's fair weather conditions, it is a good idea to prepare. The inclement weather approaches us during Thursday late afternoon into the evening period with rain and strong winds. Please log on to weather.em for the detailed forecast. If you click on the detailed marine forecast, you will get concise information on wind strength, including speed and direction, as well as sea states, and tidal information, which will be important for those exposed on the southern and eastern shores. To give some more finite details as to the wind timings locally, we are expected to be in tropical storm force winds for approximately 27 hours. So this is not a short duration system. It is a long duration system, and those tropical storm force winds are due to start during Thursday night around 9 o'clock in the marine area as of this last advisory, and I want to remind everyone that with each advisory these conditions do get updated. So at the moment, tropical storm force winds begin around 9 p.m. on Thursday evening. The 50-knot wind threshold becomes introduced to the marine area at 5 a.m. on Friday. Hurricane force winds are expected across the island. They will be higher in elevated and exposed areas. Please monitor the wind direction and align that with your household. Where are you at risk from these southeasterly winds, which will be long duration in the beginning portion of this hurricane? On island, those hurricane force winds will start by noon on Friday and last until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 50-knot winds are expected to abate by 8 p.m. on Friday, and tropical storm force winds continue, finally exiting the marine area around 11 p.m. or midnight on Friday. Therefore, the system is a 27-hour duration impact event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kimberly. So Bermuda, it's important that all preparations for the storm are completed by Thursday afternoon, as the winds will increase to tropical storm strength by Thursday night. Outdoor furniture, plants, and anything that might become a projectile in the high winds should be secured as soon as possible. Of course, we need to check our boats and make sure they're secured and obtain any necessary supplies like batteries. Digicel and Cell One have agreed again to provide the text message alerts to our customers on behalf of the EMO. This service will help to reiterate some of the key messages for the storm, and it's important that these advisories are taken seriously and preparations are made in good time, which will help to reduce property damage and the likelihood of injuries or loss of life. Bermuda, we've weathered storms before, and we are well versed in how to manage our homes and our property. However, I take this opportunity to urge you to err on the side of safety every time. In keeping with this note of caution, government offices and schools will be closed on Friday, 17th of October. An announcement in regards to the Causeway will be made based on the assessment of weather conditions. The aim is, of course, to keep the Causeway open as long as it is safe to do so. Much of the effort to clear the roads after Tropical Storm Faye was hampered by road traffic and what appeared to be sightseeing. In advance of this storm, and again after the storm passes, it is very important that people stay off the roads. Downed trees can hide dangers such as live wires, and blocked roads can be hazardous to navigate. I wish to assure everyone in Bermuda that the EMO is fully appreciated of the potential of this storm, and as such, resources have been pre-positioned at the east end of the island, including elements of the Bermuda Regiment, the Bermuda Fire Rescue Service, the Bermuda Police Service, and staffing of the Lam Fogo Urgent Care Center. Additionally, a shelter will be available at Cedar Bridge starting tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thursday for those who wish to attend before the storm. And depending on impacted buildings, shelters will be available in the east and the west ends of the island after impact, if necessary. The emergency broadcast system, 100.1 FM, will be on throughout the storm and will continue to broadcast with up-to-date information at the top and the bottom of the hour. So in closing, Bermuda, I would like to ask everyone in the community to continue to be mindful of our neighbors. Let's lend a hand where we can, especially to our seniors who might need some extra help. In the coming days, it will be important for us to continue to work together and to assist where we can to help recover from whatever damage might result from the passage of this hurricane. We are fully confident of our ability throughout the island and of the public sector and the private sector resources to deliver on well-exercised plans, and we will provide the service that is required to help Bermuda recover as quickly as possible. Now, with those prepared comments, we are open for any questions that members of the media wish to ask.
Yes, question for Ms. Zhu. Essentially, are we talking about another fake?
This path is similar to Fabian. The behavior is similar to Fabian. It is already a Category 4. It will, as it approaches Bermuda, downgrade to Category 3, but as of the noon advisory, it is expected to pass over Bermuda as a Category 3 hurricane, which is the strength of Fabian. The direction of the swell and the winds will be very reminiscent of Fabian. So if your property was exposed and received damage during Fabian, you will want to make sure you prepare to prevent that for this system. I do also want to mention that we will be upgrading to a hurricane warning during this afternoon as we are moving in towards the 36-hour threshold of time of the onset of those conditions.
Any further questions?
Charles?
I guess earlier you were giving a couple of indications of why you're so sure that it will continue, or it's very likely to continue on this path. Maybe you could go over a couple of those.
Yeah, just give me 1 second, I'll actually show you the graph. Okay. On the screen, you can see that there is a front exiting the east coast. Gonzalo is to our south-southwest. And there is a cloud-free area of high pressure off to our northeast. I move these slides forward. You can see this on our yacht charts. It has been depicted during the last 5 days. The high pressure is what is giving us very settled conditions since Faye. This is what has enabled us to do our restoration. However, as Gonzalo pushes up against Faye, Faye acts as a bumper. It doesn't intrude, it follows the edge of the high pressure area. This high pressure area is rather large, and there is no movement with it. So it bumps up and slides towards the front. Once the hurricane is embedded within the front, the upper level winds will shoot it off towards the northeast. So if I go back to the advisory, you can see that there is a hook. It turns. That is when the impact happens with the front, and it gets engaged in the upper levels and begins to shoot off towards the northeast, following the edge of that high pressure on the map.
Right. Any
Right.
questions? No?
I have one last minor question. There was reference, Mr. Ravan made to the 50 knot rule for closing the causeway. Do we still follow that protocol, or is it assess this?
Thank you, Premier. The protocol is based on a whole host of different things that you have to factor in together. So there's a misnomer that there's a 50-knot rule. The 50-knot rule is not applicable if the wind direction doesn't impact on the causeway. So if it's running parallel with the causeway, there's no effect on the causeway. And the causeway is a tricky one for us because when we close it, we only do so because we're forced to do so out of concern for public safety. But it's a double-edged sword, because when we close it, effectively, we isolate one part of the island from another. So from a public safety perspective, that is not a desirable place to be. That's why we don't have a 50-knot rule. Because if we just closed the causeway every time there was a 50-knot wind, it would be closed more often than not. So it really does come down to an assessment on the day at the time. And the reason I say it's tricky for us is because the public, rightfully so, want to know exactly what time it's going to close, and more importantly, exactly what time it will open. And here's the two problems with that. The time it closes is actually of lesser concern, because if it closes, it would probably close in the height of the storm, because the weather conditions are such that it's no longer safe to travel on it. So that shouldn't affect too many people, because you shouldn't actually be on the road at that time anyway. So the more important question becomes, well, what time will you open it? And what complicates that process is before we can open it back up, it has to be assessed by structural engineers to make sure that underneath the causeway has not been damaged. That takes time. So the frustrating thing for motorists is the winds have abated, the sun has come out, and the causeway is still closed. That's because we are still assessing it underground to see if there's been any erosion underneath. So all we can ask is two things. Number one, understand the process behind the closure system, and please give us your patience. But number two, and I think this is the more important issue, is given the size of the hurricane, given the information from the Weather Service, assume there is a reasonable chance that the causeway may close. And if it does, you have to already have put plans in place if you are one side or the other of it. Please don't wait until we close it and then try to figure out what you're